I'm Esther Beaumont, and 12 hours ago, a billionaire watched me speak perfect French to a lost tourist. Now I'm holding a plane ticket to Paris and a note that could destroy my life or save it. Tomorrow at noon, I board a private jet to face the impossible. Here's how 5 minutes in a Manhattan diner shattered everything I thought I knew about second chances. Let me back up. This morning, I was still just a waitress who smelled like stale coffee and burnt bacon grease. It's become my signature perfume, clinging to my hair like smoke, settling into my cheap polyester uniform, seeping into the weary lines around my eyes. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., I tie the frayed strings of my apron, paste on a smile that never quite reaches my eyes, and transform into the perfect ghost. The Astor Diner in Manhattan's Upper East Side pretends to be something grander than it is. Polished brass railings always smudged with fingerprints, red vinyl booths cracked like old leather. It's purgatory for aspiring artists, actors, and forgotten scholars like me. I'm exceptionally good at this job, efficient, polite, practically invisible. The perfect waitress. The Wall Street Journal readers would never guess I could dissect Renaissance semiotics or debate French existentialism. They don't know that 4 years ago, I was living in vibrant colors on Paris cobblestone streets, a top student at the Sorbonne writing a thesis on medieval illuminated manuscripts. Then the phone call came. Dad's heart attack. His business collapsed under medical bills and debt. My future dissolved overnight, and I found myself on a red-eye flight home trading the Latin Quarter for a tiny Queens apartment shared with my friend Maya. Paris became a ghost, a painful whisper of who I used to be. The woman who analyzed Louvre masterpieces now memorizes coffee preferences and burger orders. It's a slow death, this forgetting yourself. Order up, Beaumont! Saul's gravelly voice cuts through the griddle's aggressive sizzle and my wandering thoughts. I grab the heavy plates, feeling the heat warm my forearms through the thin polyester sleeves. The weight is familiar now, like carrying someone else's life in my hands. Thanks, Saul. I navigate through the cramped diner with practiced grace, weaving between tables. The lunch rush is in full swing, and I spot my nemesis at table 7, Mr. Henderson in his pinstripe suit. He'd already sent back his orange juice for having too much pulp, and was desperately trying to impress his much younger date. And make sure the steak is medium rare, he'd ordered earlier, snapping his manicured fingers like I was a dog who needed commands. Not medium, not rare. If it bleeds when I cut it, I'm sending it back. If it's gray, I'm sending it back. If it's not perfect, I'm not paying for it. Got it, sweetheart. I just smiled my practice service smile. Perfectly clear, sir. The word sweetheart had tasted like ash in my mouth, but I swallowed it along with my pride, as I do every day. But something unusual catches my attention. In the far corner booth sits a man who doesn't belong. He's not scrolling his phone, he's just watching, observing. His dark gray cashmere sweater and charcoal trousers speak of quiet, understated wealth, no flashy displays, but everything about him speaks of a different world. He nurses a single black coffee, and every time I pass, I feel his analytical eyes on me. Not creepy, but thoughtful. I've pegged him as a writer or professor. Something contemplative in his stillness reminds me of my Sorbonne professors. 2 more coffees for table 9, Maya whispers as we cross paths near the kitchen, her brown hair escaping from her ponytail after 4 hours of controlled chaos. And Henderson wants you again. Says his water tastes too municipal. I rub my temple where a familiar headache is building. Of course it does. Another Tuesday. Another endless cycle of coffee and condescension. I head toward Henderson's table with bottled water, unaware this soul-crushing Tuesday is about to split my life in half. The corner booth man continues to sip his coffee, watching me with something unreadable in his dark eyes. He's waiting for something. The door chimes. An elderly French woman enters, clutching a large handbag, eyes wide as she scans our chaotic dining room. She's elegant but simple. Camel trench coat, silk scarf, clearly a tourist who took a wrong turn off Madison Avenue. She approaches Kevin at the host stand. Excusez-moi, she begins, her voice hesitant. A table? Her English is heavily accented, uncertain, tinged with the particular anxiety of being lost in a foreign place. Kevin stares at her blankly, teenage confusion written across his acne-scarred face. A what kind of table? For one person. S'il vous plaît? She repeats, her voice trembling slightly with growing distress. Yeah, hold on, Kevin mumbles without bothering to look up from his chaos of reservation slips and phone messages. The woman's distress grows. She tries again in rapid, desperate French, explaining she's lost, her phone died, she's supposed to meet her tour group at the Met but thought it was the Guggenheim. Kevin shakes his head. Sorry, lady, I don't speak whatever that is. Spanish? From his table, Henderson lets out a theatrical sigh. Oh, for heaven's sake, let a man of culture handle this. He approaches with complete confidence and launches into what sounds like fluent French. Bonjour, madame. Je peux vous aider. Vous cherchez une table? I'm surprised his pronunciation is actually quite good. The woman's face brightens slightly. But then Henderson continues, and I realize he's just reciting memorized phrases. Voulez-vous a manger le restaurant avec table? His confidence crumbles as he runs out of rehearsed words, gesturing wildly. Food? Sit? Here? The woman looks more confused than before, and I can see Henderson's growing frustration as his limited vocabulary fails him. Something deep inside me snaps. The part that remembers the Seine at sunset, debating Foucault in left-bank cafes. I can't watch this massacre continue. I set down the bread basket and approach. In the corner booth, the quiet man leans forward, sensing something significant is about to happen. When I speak, my voice transforms completely, not the tired, flattened tone of a New York waitress worn down by years of small humiliations, but something from another life entirely, smooth and clear as a cathedral bell ringing across still water. Madame, I begin, my Parisian accent returning as naturally as breathing, perfect and pure and completely authentic. Pardonnez. Moi pour cette interruption. Cet homme ne vous comprend pas du tout. Puis-je vous aider? Vous semblez perdu et inquiète. The entire restaurant falls silent. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Henderson's jaw actually drops open. His date stares at me with wide eyes. Even Saul peeks out from behind the kitchen's pass-through window, but the French woman's face lights up with such profound relief that it nearly brings tears to my eyes. Oh mon Dieu, oui, she exclaims, her hand flying to her chest. Merci beaucoup, mademoiselle. Je pensais que j'étais complètement perdue dans cette grande ville terrible. She pours out her story in rapid, grateful French. The museum confusion, her dead phone, her growing panic about her tour group leaving without her. I listen patiently, offering reassuring words and gentle questions to help clarify her situation. Ne vous inquiétez pas, madame. Tout va bien se passer. Nous allons résoudre ce problème ensemble. I turn to Kevin, who's still staring. Can you please seat this lady at table 12 and bring her some water and a menu? Then back to her. Laissez moi appeler votre guide touristique. Comment s'appelle la compagnie? While the French woman fumbles through her oversized purse for her tour brochure, Henderson approaches me. Instead of the rage I expected, his expression is complicated embarrassment mixed with something that might actually be gratitude. That was impressive, he says quietly, glancing at his date who's now on her phone. I thought I knew French. Guess there's a difference between ordering wine in Provence and actually helping someone. For a moment, he seems genuinely humbled. Then his old arrogance resurfaces. Still, you could have been more tactful about showing me up in front of my date. If you'll excuse me, sir. I say, my voice returning to professional politeness but with a new edge of quiet authority. I'll get that bottled water for you now. I don't wait for his reply. I retrieve my phone and make the call. The tour company is understanding they'll wait another hour. I write directions to the taxi stand on a napkin. When the French woman tries to press a 20 into my hand, I refuse. C'est le moindre de mes plaisirs, madame. Bon voyage. As she leaves, quiet satisfaction settles over me. For the first time in years, I feel like myself again. The real me. Not the diminished version that serves coffee, but the woman who once felt intellectually alive. I'd forgotten what that felt like. When I return to Henderson's table, I find something unexpected. He's gone, but instead of the insulting tip I anticipated, there's a $20 bill with a note scrawled on a napkin. You made me look foolish, but you helped that woman with real kindness. I respect that, even if I don't like being outclassed by the waitstaff. H. It's not an apology exactly, but it's more self-awareness than I'd credited him with. What surprises me is that the corner booth man is also leaving. He catches my eye while sliding on a tailored navy coat, gives me an almost imperceptible nod, not casual acknowledgement, but profound recognition. He leaves a crisp $100 bill for his $3 coffee and walks out wordlessly. I pocket the unexpectedly generous tip, feeling a small victory thrill mixed with confusion. I think that's the end of it, a brief moment of rebellion in my otherwise gray existence, a tiny spark of the person I used to be. I have absolutely no idea that it's actually just the beginning of something that will change everything. The rest of my shift blurs into familiar routine. The diner gradually empties as the frantic lunch energy gives way to the quieter, more contemplative atmosphere of mid-afternoon. I refill salt shakers with mechanical precision, wipe down ketchup bottles until they gleam, sweep crumbs from vinyl seats, and try not to think too hard about Henderson's unexpected note of respect or that mysterious man's weighted, analytical gaze. The Sorbonne student who emerged for those few magical minutes feels like a flickering candle flame, beautiful but fragile, easily extinguished by the harsh wind of reality. When my shift finally ends at 5 o'clock, the familiar aches settle into my bones like old friends. My feet throb in my sensible shoes, my soul feels bruised from 8 hours of small indignities, and the deep exhaustion that comes from constantly choosing between bills and basic necessities weighs on my shoulders like a heavy coat. I sling my worn leather messenger bag, a relic from my university days, over my shoulder and head toward the back exit that leads into the narrow alley behind the restaurant. "Hey, Beaumont." Saul's gravelly voice stops me at the employee exit. He's wiping his permanently grease-stained hands on his equally stained apron, holding something in his thick fingers, a sleek black envelope that looks completely out of place in his calloused grip. "What's that?" I ask, though something deep in my stomach already knows this isn't ordinary. "The quiet guy from the corner booth," Saul explains, his Brooklyn accent thick with curiosity. "Came back maybe 20 minutes after he left. Said he forgot to give this to you personally. Told me to make sure you got it before you went home. Wouldn't take no for an answer." I reach for the envelope with fingers that have started trembling without my permission. The paper is heavy. Expensive cardstock, unlike anything I've ever touched, the kind of stationery that whispers of old money and serious intentions. There's no name written on the outside, no address, nothing except an elegant silver seal pressed into black wax, depicting what appears to be stylized falcon wings. "Weird, right?" Saul grunts, clearly as puzzled as I am. Guy looked like he could buy this whole place without checking his bank balance. Drove off in some kind of car that probably costs more than my house. "See you tomorrow, kid." I slip out into the alley, where the evening air provides blessed relief from the restaurant's oppressive heat and the lingering smell of grease. Under the dim security light that casts everything in sepia tones, I break the seal with trembling fingers, my heart beating so hard I can hear it echoing off the brick walls surrounding me. 2 items slide out onto my palm. The first is a business card as thick and black as the envelope itself, with a silver falcon crest embossed at the top that catches the light like real metal. Below it, minimalist silver lettering that seems to glow. Alexander Sterling, CEO, Sterling Innovations. My breath catches in my throat and refuses to return. Sterling Innovations isn't just some successful tech company, it's a global titan, a multi-billion-dollar empire spanning aerospace, logistics, artificial intelligence, and cutting-edge technology that most people can't even pronounce. Alexander Sterling is a living legend, a reclusive genius who built an impossible empire from absolutely nothing, a man whose net worth is discussed in terms that make most people dizzy. Billionaire many times over, famously private, rarely photographed, the kind of person who moves through the world like a force of nature rather than a simple human being. That quiet, observant man from the corner booth was Alexander Sterling. It seems impossible. Completely, utterly impossible. The second item stops my heart completely and makes the world tilt sideways. A plane ticket, no. Not just any plane ticket, but a private jet reservation printed on paper so thick it feels like fabric. Gulfstream G650 departing from Teterboro Airport tomorrow at precisely noon. Destination: Le Bourget Airport, Paris. Passenger name: Esther Beaumont. Tucked carefully inside the reservation is a handwritten note on matching black stationery, written in sharp, decisive script with silver ink that seems to shimmer under the alley's dim lighting. Miss Beaumont, talent should never be wasted serving mediocrity to people who wouldn't recognize brilliance if it introduced itself personally. A voice like yours, an intelligence like yours, belongs in Paris, not in a diner arguing with grown men about bottled water and overcooked steaks. A car will be waiting at your address tomorrow morning at exactly 10 a.m. Your seat will be waiting on the plane. This is not a request, it's an opportunity that won't come again. The choice, as always, is entirely yours. A.S. I read the note once, then twice, then 3 times, each reading making it seem more surreal and impossible. The alley tilts and spins around me, the familiar sounds of the city fading to a dull, distant roar that seems to be coming from underwater. This has to be some kind of elaborate joke, cruel, expensive, and completely inexplicable. Maybe Henderson's final act of mockery. Though how he would know my home address or afford a private jet reservation is beyond any reasonable explanation. But the expense involved, the attention to detail, the sheer audacity of it all, makes my head spin with possibilities I'm afraid to even consider. I stumble home through Queens in a complete daze, clutching the black envelope against my chest like it might disappear if I don't hold it tight enough. The subway ride passes in a blur of fluorescent lights and incomprehensible announcements, and when I finally burst through the door of our tiny apartment, I find Maya sprawled on our second-hand couch, reality television blaring from our ancient television with its cracked screen. "Whoa," she says, looking up from her phone with immediate concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost, or won the lottery, or possibly both at the same time." I can't speak. My voice has completely abandoned me. Instead, I walk over to our coffee table, a rickety thing we found on the street, and painted white to hide the water damage and carefully lay out everything. The business card, the plane ticket, the handwritten note. Maya picks up the card first, her eyebrows climbing toward her hairline. Sterling Innovations? Isn't that the company that... Her eyes widen as understanding dawns. She reads the note carefully, examines the plane ticket with the detailed attention of someone trained in legal documents, then looks back at me with her mouth hanging open in complete shock. "Girl, what in the actual hell is this?" "I honestly don't know," I whisper, finally finding my voice as I sink onto the couch beside her. "It's completely insane. He was there today, the man who left the $100 tip. I helped a lost French woman, and he just watched. Then this." Maya's initial shock rapidly transforms into the deep, practical suspicion that makes her an excellent paralegal and an even better friend. She's protective by nature, trained to see the dangers lurking behind appealing facades. "Okay, let me get this straight," she says, but then pauses, studying the business card more carefully. "Wait, I've actually heard of this guy. There was a case at my firm last year. Sterling Innovations bought out a small tech startup, but they kept all the employees and actually improved their benefits. The founders said he was surprisingly decent." She frowns, clearly torn between her protective instincts and this new information. "But still, Esther, this is insane. Even if he's not a creep, what kind of person makes life-changing offers to strangers? There has to be something he wants that he's not telling you." "I know it sounds crazy," I say, though even as the words leave my mouth, I realize how inadequate they are. "But Maya, the note talent should never be wasted. He saw something in me. He heard who I really am under all this." I gesture helplessly at my uniform, still reeking of bacon grease and desperation. "He heard you speak French to one person." Maya counters, standing up and beginning to pace our small living room with nervous energy. "That's literally it. For all you know, this guy has some bizarre fetish involving French-speaking waitresses and private jets. You don't know anything about him except that he has money and apparently knows where you live, which, by the way, is terrifying in its own right." "But he's Alexander Sterling," I protest, though it sounds weak even to me. One of the most successful businessmen in the world. Not some random creep trolling diners for victims. Rich people can be the biggest creeps of all. Maya shoots back without hesitation. Money doesn't automatically make someone trustworthy. And how exactly did he get your full name and home address? That's not observational skills, that's serious investigative work. Stalker-level information gathering. The question hangs in the air like smoke. Impossible to ignore. How does he know where I live? How did he learn my full name when I wear only a first name tag at work? He must have had someone follow me home, or run my name and face through databases I can't even imagine. The ease with which he apparently pierced through my careful anonymity is genuinely terrifying. But beneath the very real fear, something else stirs in my chest. Something wild and dangerous and intoxicating. Hope. Paris. The word alone is like a physical pain in my chest, sharp and sweet and impossible to ignore. That ticket isn't just paper and ink, it's a doorway back to the life that was stolen from me 4 years ago, back to the person I was before debt and desperation ground me down into invisibility. It's everything I thought was lost forever, offered by a stranger's hand. But what if it's real? I whisper, the words coming out like a confession. What if it's exactly what it appears to be, just an opportunity? And what if it's a trap? Maya's voice rises with frustration and fear. What if you throw away your job, your entire life, on a whim from a man you met for literally 5 seconds, based on nothing but a cryptic note and expensive stationery? Be realistic, Esther. I look around our cramped apartment with fresh eyes, the peeling paint that we've learned to ignore, the stack of overdue bills on the counter that grows taller every month, the smell of our neighbor's cooking that seeps through thin walls, my uniform hanging by the door like a prison sentence. This is my reality. Safe, predictable, slowly suffocating me with its relentless mediocrity. The note said, "This is not a request." Something about those words feels like both a command and a challenge. A challenge to be more than what I've been forced to become, to reclaim the person I was before circumstances carved away pieces of my soul. The fear is absolutely real and completely justified. Maya's warnings are logical and born from genuine love. But Paris, the intoxicating, impossible possibility of escape, of return, of becoming whole again, that pull is stronger than fear. I look at Maya, my oldest friend, my anchor in this difficult life we've built together from scraps and stubbornness. The silence stretches between us, heavy with everything unsaid. I think, I say, the words tasting strange and foreign on my tongue, I think I have to go. I have to know. And as those words hang in the air between us, I realize that somewhere in the space between reading that note and speaking this decision aloud, I've already chosen.